بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, welcome to the second video of the channel. In this video, I'm gonna try to lay down the problem that we are facing as an ummah. Now, obviously, some obvious things. Right? When you are trying to solve a problem, there are two simple steps. You first identify the problem, and then you try to solve the problem. Right? Another thing that you should consider is that if you are looking from a social perspective, like obviously if it's a math or science problem, then it's different. But if it's a social problem, you need to identify one more thing. You need to identify whether you are part of the problem or you are part of the solution. Right? In other words, are you aggravating the whole problem, right? Or you are part of the solution. Now, if you look at the global situation, right? Islam and the West are right, like face to face now, looking into each other's eyes, right? And we as an ummah haven't done a good job in solving the problem. There have been people, alhamdulillah, may Allah bless their lives, they're still doing work trying to fix the problem, but they are a minority. If at least I look at my previous generations and the generations of people I know, and obviously I don't see people doing enough for solving this problem. They have mostly aggravated the problem, and that has led us to this situation where we are losing our next generation. People, a lot of students I know as a student, also as a PhD student, I had a lot of friends who became atheists, right? And still now, right? There are people who are, the worst case they become atheists. In a less worst case, they stop practicing about Islam. Stop practicing Islam, and because they don't have the answers to the questions. And there are so many reasons for that, and I'm going to talk about those reasons later on. But I want to identify the problem more. The problem is that we are facing the West, right? And we as an ummah have not done enough to preserve our values. Now, there are obviously two major sections of the ummah. The dominant, the countries in which Muslims are the dominant population. That's a difference. They have a different psychology, right? And the minority have a different psychology. The minorities are doing much better than the majority Muslim countries. Alhamdulillah, I've lived in 3 majority Muslim countries. Now I'm living in a country where Muslims are a minority, and so you see the difference. Minorities tend to preserve their religion. They tend to do a lot of things, and you see a lot of creativity over here to engage the youth. But they're still not doing a really good job. But they're so much better than the Muslim countries that at least I have lived in. I see that the way I see it is that Islam is decaying in the in the dominant Muslim countries. You go over there and you see people every few years I go back, I see people getting less and less involved in Islam. They're getting farther and farther away from Islam. Whereas in the West, things are different. People are getting more and more engaged. So as I see the whole global situation is that Islam is decaying in the Muslim world, in the countries where Muslims are dominant. And it's there's a seed being sowed in the West of a new Muslim community, of a new Muslim civilization. So our previous generation. So in short, what is the problem? The problem is that we're facing the West, and we're not doing a good job in addressing. The West is doing a really good job in preserving their civilization, and look at when I go to the Muslim countries, you see our there are children, right, and in Pakistan, for example, who don't even want to speak their own local language because they mostly spend their times watching videos on YouTube. They are even not giving any preference to their own language. Think about this. Like, they live in a country where, for example, in Pakistan, the dominant language is Urdu, right? And I've seen children, so many children from the next generation who are not interested in learning Urdu. They just want to speak English. Think about the dominance of the Western civilization, and think about the weakness of our civilization and our culture. And so this is just one example. I'll talk about so many examples in later videos that we are so weak and we are doing such a bad job. And kudos to the West, who's doing a really great job in preserving their civilization. This is what dominant civilizations want to do. This is obviously survival of the fittest in a way, right? If you're the fittest, you survive, right? And I have a lot of complaints from my previous generations that they have not done good jobs when it comes to preserving our culture. For example, the scarcity of Islamic schools in the Muslim world, schools where kids can learn both about Islam and science. That's one example. So I don't want to make the video long. It's just that in this video I want to identify the problem. One of the problems, the more important problems, is that we, again, as a Muslim civilization, are facing the West. We have to think about ways where we face the challenges within ourselves, and we don't self-implode, right? Also, and so what are the factors that are making us self-implode, and what are the external factors that are making us explode, right? We need to identify all those problems, right? So that the global problem is that Islam is facing the West, and we need to find solutions to this problem. And so thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys more about how we can solve the problems. I'm going to lay down more problems that we are facing and how we can solve those problems. So thanks for watching. Jazakallah khair. Keep smiling. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.